Verizon gets a deal on Yahoo. Don't turn over your Facebook password at the border yet. And why one popular photographer has announced that Apple is dead to him. All that and a whole lot more coming up on Tech News Today.
This is Twit. Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CashFly at CACHEFLY.com.
Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and once again, time for Twit's audience survey. We'd really like to hear from you. It's only going to take a couple of minutes, really. That's all. Just go to twit.tv/survey and let us know what you think. Your anonymous feedback will help us make Twit even better. And thanks for your continued support.
This is Tech News Today, episode 1709, recorded Tuesday, February 21st, 2017.
This episode of Tech News Today is brought to you by Blue Apron, the #1 fresh ingredient and recipe delivery service in the country. See what's on the menu this week and get 3 meals free with your first purchase with free shipping by going to blueapron.com/TNT.
And by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. When it comes to the big decision of choosing a mortgage lender, work with one that has your best interest in mind. Use Rocket Mortgage for a transparent, trustworthy home loan process that's completely online at quickenloans.com/TNT.
Hello and welcome to Tech News Today. This is the show where we tell you what you need to know about technology.
Today.
I am Megan Maroney.
I'm Jason Howell. Hi.
Hi.
Welcome back. Missed you on
thanks.
Friday.
I was just gone one day, but I appreciate you and David Spark filling in for me.
David did a great job. We dove into kind of the background of this year's RSA. And I mean, he's been to so many of them. So he was able to kind of go back in time and kind of break apart. Well, you guys all listen to it, but break apart kind of the recurring history of RSA and how it's a conference that I don't think I ever want to go to because I think I'd walk away depressed every year.
Sad.
Yes.
And of course, we weren't here yesterday because it was a U.S. holiday.
Yes, President's Day yesterday. But we are back and ready to talk about Verizon.
Okay. Verizon will pay approximately $4.48 billion in cash for Yahoo's internet assets. That's a $350 million price cut for a company that suffered 2 major privacy breaches, the first impacting at least 500 million accounts in 2014, and the second in 2013 that got a peek into over 1 billion accounts. Yahoo will have to pay expenses relating to the investigation, and the two companies will split the bill for the cash liabilities related to non-SEC government investigations and other third-party data breach litigation. So last time we thought it was going to be about $350 million.
Yeah, it was like 250 to 350 or somewhere around there.
You thought that wasn't that much?
I don't know. It just kind of seemed in the grand scheme of things not to be that much. But
for all of those accounts, I mean, it was a huge hack. And I feel like the company is irreparably damaged. But yeah, the original deal was estimated at $4.83 billion.
So Matthew Ingram on Fortune actually had a really good article kind of diving into the idea of why Verizon needs Yahoo so bad in light of all this stuff. And that's the question that I think a lot of people are asking is, or at least some people are wondering, why is it so important for Verizon to have Yahoo in light of all of this information? And why is Verizon okay paying as little or as much, depending on how you look at it? But why didn't they end up, agreeing to take more off the purchase price? Matthew says it's all about the ad business. What Verizon wants to do is it wants to go toe-to-toe in a mobile-first ad business in the same lines as Facebook, same lines as Google. And the only way that they can compete is with a company that brings as many users and the platform that Yahoo has, right? Billions of users. Brand is tarnished, but still all that technology behind it comes with it. So if that's Verizon's ambition, this is one of the only games in town right now for them to be able to do that and do it now. So
an ad business in that people would still have their accounts? Are they, because
I think a lot of people are still, absolutely, still using those accounts.
So an ad business, their email accounts, the way like Google uses our email accounts for ads, that sort of thing?
Well, and I think also just like using the broader Yahoo network in order to distribute ads across it. But still, even when you consider that, Facebook right now controls 15% of the digital ad market. Yahoo and AOL combined control 2%. So it's a much smaller percentage, and potentially, I think Verizon would have to do a heck of a lot more in order to compete in that realm, but this automatically gets them a little bit closer.
Yeah, because I just wonder, like, when people are thinking these days, I think I want to get another email account. Like, I guess I'll get a Yahoo account. Like, I don't know if that happens. A lot of people, my mom has a Yahoo account just because she's had it forever. You know, that's, and it was better than AOL, which she had before that. So I don't know if they're really going to be drawing people in, because if you weren't going to get it before, I don't know if you would get it now based on all of that news about being hacked. But I don't know if people pay attention to the news. But I know that they, if they had a Yahoo account, they very well knew they were hacked because Yahoo had to email them to tell them.
Who knows? But with all the junk mail that they get, though, maybe that was just, filtered away and they didn't see that.
Maybe.
I think it's just a matter of this getting them closer than any of the other options that they have. Automatically gives them access to a network, and who knows what the longer tail is, right? Like we've seen companies come back around after a long time and be able to kind of remodel themselves. So maybe Verizon's able to do that eventually. UPS isn't willing to let Amazon eat its lunch when it comes to drone deliveries, so Brown began testing its own drone in Tampa Bay, Florida. The launchpad was actually the roof of one of the company's Brown delivery trucks, with the driver effectively mounting and activating the drone's autonomous navigation with the tablet that they have. That freed up the driver to deliver another package while that package flew itself through the air, delivered to a home, flew back to the van, and relocated. Although this was a test flight, so certain things were automated a little bit more than what they would be in reality if and when this is rolled out on a wider scale. And there's a lot that has to happen before that would happen. But in that scenario, eventually the idea would be like, I can't, it's difficult for me to get this huge van over there for whatever reason, the roadways or whatever the case may be. So I'm going to send this drone instead and just carry on about my day, and it would eventually land back on the van. Kind of cool.
So it's the sense of many hands and a drone make light work?
Sure.
Okay. You've heard that. Many hands make light work. Don't you say that when you're trying to get your kids to clean up the living room? No,
but this is a new one. I'm going to write this down.
Yes.
And maybe that'll get them to
many
finally
hands and
work.
A drone make light work. So the TechCrunch says that they asked for a second demo, and then that one didn't work so well as the first, that it kind of landed and almost got chopped up because the van opens up and then the drone has to land and it went, but it didn't crash. But weirdly, TechCrunch hid that at the end of their story, which makes it's one of those things where it's like, UPS invites all these tech reporters, come be the first one to see our drone. And it's really press for them. And we are on this 24-hour tech news cycle. So they're like, yes, I'll go out and see that. And then you wonder, do a lot of these people that reported on this and didn't report on the second demo, did they not report on the second demo because they still want access to UPS's drone PR people? Or is it because really, like you said, this is the beginning prototype, and to make fun of it, doesn't move us forward at all. It's just
I think it's kind of important to mention it. I'm happy that TechCrunch did, because that shows that it's fallible. What that also illustrates is when you think about a world where you're walking down the street and there are delivery drones all over the place, like there is an actual risk involved with big, heavy drones flying through the sky with up to 10 pounds worth of packages that might, for whatever reason, whatever it could be, think of a million different things, make that drone fall down on you and kill you. Or maybe not kill you, but it wouldn't feel very good.
Yeah, I think it could kill you.
And so that's I think it probably could too, but I'm just leaving hope, I suppose.
You're an optimist when it comes to drones falling from the sky and killing you. I get that.
It's true. I like to think that they just fall right in front of my feet and I go, wow, that was a close call. So I guess that illustrates that it's possible, and okay, maybe we've got a ways to go.
Yeah. Well, today, the Center for Democracy and Technology, or the CDT, published a public letter expressing their position against the proposed social media password requirement by the Department of Homeland Security. Senator Ron Wyden, a Democrat from Oregon, also sent a letter to the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security asking about the problem and demanding accountability. Now, right now, you officially do not have to turn over your passwords, and it's illegal for people to ask for them. You can perform all kinds of elaborate tricks. I read about this in The Atlantic. You can disconnect two-factor so that you can't hand over your advice. You can wipe your device when you're going through security. But that's going to make you look really suspicious, I think. So to do it just to prove, our privacy rights, I support anyone who does that, and I really want to do that. But I personally wouldn't do that because you're going to be delayed or worse. According to Politico, some DHS representatives have been asking for passwords since December of last year, which was, I will remind you, during the Obama administration. There's no saying that this has increased since Trump took office. They don't know that, but it has become part of our national conversation more. Because if the United States says, yeah, I think it's a good idea to ask for people's passwords as they come in the country for all their social media accounts, then a lot of other countries will also do that. We are often an example to other countries.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the risk on something like this is that, normally we're in this weird state with like security and online accounts and digital information right now because we have the real world idea of what privacy is, and then we've got this digital world that's still being figured out, whether it is okay to ask for someone's, whether it is air quotes legal to ask for someone's ID and password in order to scrub through digital account because it's not physical and tangible. Mm-hmm. And so for some reason that separates it. But what this also does without a warrant potentially is it doesn't necessarily only give them access to that person's history. Social media is built upon the foundation, upon the fact that, we use it because it connects us with other people. And so it also gives them access to a lot of other people mm-hmm. and access that they wouldn't normally have if they didn't have access through somebody's account that, that person accepted their friendship request or whatever the case may be. It's a very personal interaction between those two people. So it goes even beyond just like infringing, let's say, on the rights of the persons who had their phone taken away from them.
Mm-hmm. Well, customs is different. Like, it's different than just walking up to the street, and walking up to someone on the street and saying, like, hand me your password. And, like, there are slightly different rules and regulations in customs. But this is, I just feel like this is very scary that this is even being considered because that is the first rule of security. Do not give anyone your password.
That's true.
Like, we teach our children that. Like, do not do that. And so to say, like, I don't know. I get it. Like, you take your shoes off or whatever. That's not the first rule of any. Never take your shoes off isn't the first rule. Like, I'll give up my shoes. I won't give up my password.
Mm-hmm. And what about, that should be a shirt. I'll give up my shoes. I won't give up my password. What about the people who actually have no social media accounts? If they don't, and there are people that exist on this world that have a phone and don't have Facebook, let's say, but is them saying that they don't have that, is that automatically seen as, like you said, some sort of indication that something's going on and, we're going to hold you, we're going to scrutinize you even further because who doesn't have a Facebook account?
Mm-hmm. My husband, he looks suspicious anyway, though. They should check him. But I think, I get that. But I think that's not you don't look as suspicious as someone who said, I turned off two-factor on my phone so you couldn't get access to it. I can't get access to it. That's what that's what Apple says. That's what WhatsApp says. Like, they're giant corporations saying, like, we actually can't look at that stuff. We can't turn it over. So, and they're suspicious, but they're very different than an average person saying that. You're exactly right. Someone might say, like, I don't have social media, and then that might make you look suspicious. I don't want to live in that world.
Yeah, fair enough. Part of Snap's plan. Do you want to live in a Snap Spectacles world?
Yeah,
kind of do.
It feels like the Snap Spectacles stories always come after the serious stories. It's like, let's just put on our rose-colored glasses and everything will be fine.
Exactly. That's exactly it. It's a chaser. It's a security chaser. Part of Snap's plan of world domination, at least tangentially at first, involves its efforts in camera hardware, namely Snap Spectacles. Snap is opening up sales for their video recording glasses to anyone in the U.S. via spectacles.com. That happened today after a series of pop-up stores in a small number of influential markets began last November. But now it seems like, it seems like the novelty is kind of wearing off. Not seeing many people wearing them or being, forcing you to see that they're wearing them. Well, saying, hey, do you want to try it? Isn't this cool? I guess the pop-up stores were, there were more often than not more people there to help than there were people there to buy as it's kind of gone along. So I don't know. when we think about this?
Well, I believe what Kurt said from Recode, Kurt Wagner. He said he thought that the whole Snap thing was all just to get their name out, before the IPO, so that more people knew who they were, adults.
Generate a little more excitement.
Yeah, so like you'd be, a wealthy banker walking along the streets of New York, and you'd see, what are you all in line for? And then you'd say, oh, that looks big. I think I will buy some stock in that company. That sort of thing.
Are they wearing top hats?
Yes, they definitely are wearing a top hat and a suit. I think I shall.
And a monocle,
invest.
I'm pretty sure.
Yes. Yeah. So I think, I don't know, or just getting their name out as opposed to like they were going to really make money. Because I'm sure, yes, exactly. That's what that person says.
That's what they all look like, right?
Yes. Because they make so much more money on just the advertising, that's in the rainbow vomit filters, I would say.
It's potent, the stuff that's in that vomit.
Yes.
Stuff, so.
But the good news is that before, if you went to the Snap bot or waited in line, you could only buy 2 pairs. Now you, Jason Howell, can buy 6 pairs.
And then I can sell them on eBay for the same price that I bought them for, because those are no longer marked up to $900 the way they used to. See, it's all coming around. It really actually reminds me a lot of glass. And actually, to a certain degree, it reminds me of wearables in general. There's the initial where everyone's like, oh, it's the new big cool thing. Haven't been able to do this before. I've got access, so of course I'm going to buy it because not many people have access. Everybody does it for a little while, and then you start to have the hangover where you start to realize, is this enriching my life to the point to where I will keep it up? And it seems like this kind of falls into the same category, at least as Google Glass did to a certain degree, where it was like, yeah, it was cool at first. It was I understood why I got it, but how do I envision my life going forward with this, or do I at all? Is it just not a part of the consideration when I leave the house?
See, I would argue that it's different than Glass in that Glass, they had people like evangelizers, right? Evangelists. They would give them to, and we want you to take these out. And, there was the Explorer program, and we want you to use it. You're a tech person. We can see using this and go out in the world. But I would think with Snap, they gave them to no tech reporters. Like nobody got them. Those tech reporters had to wait in line. And so I think that they were really trying to keep tech reporters from writing pieces that said, this is going to change the world, as many tech reporters do, because nobody really said that,
Think pieces on Snap Spectacles.
Yes. Or either this is going to change the world, or this is a violation of my privacy. The only people that wrote about it were the people that waited in line and, took a helicopter to the place. Like, they're more just crazy people as opposed to like tech evangelists.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm thinking. Now, if you were many of the people who believed that over the president's weekend, Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg made a kind old newspaper editor eat the sports section of his local paper, you might need a primer on how to spot fake news. Zuckerberg and his wife, Priscilla Chan, did take a casual photo reading the newspaper in front of the Selma Times-Journal, and they used it as an opportunity to thank tireless journalists. And then one New Yorker cartoonist on Twitter, calling himself a fake newsman, just to notify you, created a parody that involves Zuckerberg saying that he never felt more alive watching the man eat the paper. It is a parody that is so funny because it is so metaphorically true. My question for you, Jason, is how much money would Mark Zuckerberg have to give you to eat a newspaper?
Probably not much, because I love the taste of newspaper. There's a name for that, right? People who eat paper?
I think there is a name for people who eat paper.
There actually is. It's a thing. It's a thing. Anyways.
Do you have a confession to make?
No, I don't actually. I've never eaten a newspaper. It's too messy. The ink rubs off. I thought this was hilarious when I saw it. Not once when I read it did I think it was real, even though I hadn't seen the source of it prior to reading it. But man, it's such a weird time, because you read all it really takes is taking this Facebook post, screenshotting it, finding a matching font, and you can make it say whatever you want. And the technology-minded people get that. That it's very easy to fake this kind of stuff. But this world is so confusing right now that even jokes, even funny haha jokes written by someone who blatantly says, has fake in his name or whatever the case may be, may still be kind of questioned as far as like if it's fake or if it's real, and that depresses me a little bit.
I know. Well, I love satire, but it's hard to do it well, right? And so I thought this was done well. Obviously, Mark Zuckerberg did not force someone to eat a newspaper, pay them $10,000 and say like, "Oh, I never felt so alive. This must be what it feels like to be president." But just still on Twitter, like, is this real? Like, do you read? That's what I want to ask people. Like, but yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Part of that might also be that it's a lot easier, and I'm guilty of this, of asking the crowd a question than it is taking the time to look into it on my own. Like, I know that I've done that.
Yeah.
Where I see something, and it would have taken me equal amount of time to like open up a Google thing and figure out what my question, phrasing is and ask it and find the answer. But instead, like, I asked the crowd, and I don't know what that says about a person who chooses to do that, what that says about me, that I choose to like put it out to everyone and just see what happens as a result. But no matter what, it was a joke. It's but I don't know. I don't know what to say about this one. Although I will say that Bleak actually corrected me in chat. And what did he say? He said, Jason, you can edit the page live using Code Inspector in Chrome. I think what he's saying is you don't even have to screenshot it. You can just edit it in Chrome.
Okay.
Everybody knows that.
So does anyone know what it means to eat paper? Like, who does that? I really wanted to figure that out, but I was too busy talking.
No, it's the thing. Burke might know.
Okay, you got to go in the corner, Burke chat.
Pika. It's called Pika.
Pika. Okay, it's not funny. People.
It is a thing. Okay. It is totally a thing that some people eat paper. I don't understand.
Yeah. So it's one of those things that's like, to me, that's satire done perfectly well because, the effect of newspapers, and it was mocking Zuckerberg for, saying, "Oh, I just have so much respect for these tireless journalists." And it's like, well, you're putting a lot of them out of business. So maybe you should think about what you post on Facebook.
So is the question then that satire has a time and a place? In other words, if this were to have appeared on the Onion site, everyone would have known that it was satire and it would not have been a question. But because, are social media platforms bad places for satire? Because it's too easy to misinterpret them?
That is a good question, and I hope not.
I hope not,
especially
too,
because he was fake news. He was Mr. Fake News.
Yeah,
he was a fake newsman. That's what he said.
There were some details there that were overlooked.
But that's a good question. That is a good question.
Hey, question of the day.
Yes.
TNT@twit.tv. What do you think? Is social media a bad place for satire? Tell us what you think. We'll check in on it.
After the break, photographer Trey Ratcliff talks about why Apple is nearly dead to him. But first, let's take a minute to thank Blue Apron, the sponsor of this episode. I had 2 very great experiences with Blue Apron this weekend, and I want to share them with you. First, I was out on Friday. I went away for the weekend with 2 of my girlfriends. I had just received my Blue Apron box of barramundi. Is that correct? Barramundi?
I believe so.
Barramundi. Yes. I've been corrected
Sounds
by many
delicious.
Australians. I tossed it in the trunk of the car with the rest of our luggage. They were amazed. I was very excited. We were staying in a rental house. It was perfect because we didn't know what ingredients were going to be at the house. If you've ever stayed at a place, you're like, do they have olive oil? Do they have salt? Do they have pepper? What do they have? That did not matter. Everything was in the box, including the ice to keep the fish cold. Blue Apron's mission is to make incredible home cooking accessible to everyone while supporting a more sustainable food system, setting the highest standards for ingredients, and building a community of home chefs. Blue Apron delivers seasonal recipes with fresh, high-quality ingredients to make delicious home-cooked meals for less than $10 a person. Each meal comes with a step-by-step, easy-to-follow recipe card and pre-portioned ingredients that can be prepared in 40 minutes or less. Blue Apron sets the highest quality standards for their community of over 140 local farms, fisheries, and ranchers across the United States. Seafood is sourced sustainably under standards developed in partnership with the Monterey Bay Aquarium Seafood Watch. I told you I would tell you 2 experiences I had. Here's the second one. I got home from my weekend away with the family. My family did not want to go out and buy food, go to the grocery store, and neither did I. So we had the second part of our Blue Apron box. That was our second meal. We had it together. We shared all the chopping and the roasting and the grating. And it really was a great family experience. Plus, it's the food that you want to feed your family and yourself. Beef, chicken, and pork come from responsibly raised animals. Their freshness guarantee promises that every ingredient in your delivery arrives ready to cook, or they will make it right. Blue Apron delivers to 99% of the continental U.S. There's no weekly commitment, so you only get deliveries when you want them. Customize your recipes every week based on your dietary preferences. Choose from a variety of new recipes each week, or let Blue Apron's culinary team surprise you. Recipes are not repeated within a year, so you will never get bored. Cashew chicken stir fry with tango mandarins and jasmine rice, or a roasted pork with apple, walnut, and farro salad, or the aforementioned crispy barramundi with quinoa and roasted carrot salad. It also had lime in it. It had walnuts in it. It had all kinds of crazy flavors. It was delicious. Also, udon noodle soup with miso and soft boiled eggs. Check out this week's menu and get your first 3 meals free with your first purchase, with free shipping, by going to blueapron.com/TNT. You will love how good it feels and tastes to create incredible home-cooked meals with Blue Apron. Don't wait. Go to blueapron.com/TNT. Blue Apron, a better way to cook.
So a lot can change in a short amount of time. Case in point, Apple has long been the choice of many creatives when it comes to computing platforms for a number of reasons. Microsoft has been seen by many, anyways, in the creative world as a platform that had it all, but then kind of lost its competitive edge for one reason or another. Until recently, that is. Joining us to talk about his own Switch experience is professional photographer Trey Ratcliff from StuckInCustoms.com. How's it going, Trey?
Hello, hello. Yeah, this switch was very difficult. I think it might have been easier to get a sex change.
All right, so let's start there.
Okay. Well, actually, if I had a sex change, I would at least have an excuse to go into lesbian bars.
that would be true. Let's take a step back from the sex change and talk about Apple a little bit, because that's where this whole I think I do. That's where this whole experiment happened. So you say that Apple has abandoned creatives, and I know for myself, like I'm a musician, I have a Mac at home, but this last kind of wave of new Microsoft Surface devices was the first time that I actually kind of thought, maybe there's life on the other side. Explain a little bit by what you mean about Apple abandoning creatives.
Yeah, I think they largely have abandoned many creative professionals, maybe not all of them, but for those of us that need like heavy lifting, like a workhorse, right, a powerhouse, this new line of MacBook Pros that came out, they're not that exciting. They seem to be more stressing thinness and sleekness rather than power. I don't know why they wouldn't just make one more SKU, like a big old hefty MacBook Pro like the old days. They can have that little glowy bar up there. That's fine. They make beautiful products, but, I'm shooting huge video files, huge photo files. I'm using the whole Adobe suite. I'm using all these other products to make my photos. And the Mac is going slow. And my new MSI that I got just flies. It's unbelievable. I don't know why I waited so long to switch.
Were you on one of the new MacBook Pros? Like, had you kind of already upgraded to Apple's latest and greatest? I know it took them a long time to upgrade the MacBook Pro to the version that you're at right now, but even it couldn't keep up?
I give myself a gift every year, and I buy a new computer every year, right? And I know that seems like expensive, but if you look at how much people spend on cars versus computers and how much time they spend using their cars versus computers, why not get a new computer every year? It's a rounding error. But I am using the most recent MacBook Pro without the little touch bar thing on it. So it's practically the same specs.
Right.
So what Windows machine did you get, or which Windows products did you get?
I got I have a whole guide on my website because I've had so much difficulty switching. It hasn't been that easy that I haven't seen a lot of guides out there to switch from Mac to Windows, right? Usually it's the other way. And so I kind of wrote a step-by-step guide, and I listed out all the stuff that I got, but I'll give you the highlights right now. The highlights are I got an MSI, I think it's a WT71, I think that's it. It's sort of a gaming machine. And my theory is that if you have a really powerful gaming machine with good graphics, this will do the same kind of heavy lifting that video production needs and photo production. So it's been a great little machine. In fact, I have had a few troubles with it because like it took me 2 weeks, for example, to figure out how to enable the graphics card, the NVIDIA graphics card, so that I could use it with Lightroom. And there's like this little secret button you got to push, but I put that in the guide, and like lots of little stumbling blocks along the way, moving data from one system to another. I'm just kind of getting, I used to be a Windows guy. I used to use these computers all the time. I used to build my own gaming machines. I got on Newegg and built my own machines. I loved it. It was a good time. But it's been about 5 years, so I'm trying to get back in the groove, and it's finally starting to click. I love Windows 10. They really seem to be innovating there at Microsoft. Microsoft not a sponsor or anything like that. I think it's a really nice solution.
How embedded in the Apple ecosystem were you prior to this switch? I mean, Apple, allows between all of their devices, if you've really gone all in, there's so much kind of cross-pollination between their devices that it ends up acting kind of as a way to make it more difficult for you to leave to a certain degree. Is that part of the challenge that you're up against here?
That's right. I was pretty neck deep in a lot of their systems. Luckily, I had switched to Android about 4 or 5 years ago. I have that new Google Pixel phone. I love it. It's so much better than the iPhone. But I can't convince my tunnel vision iPhone friends because that's the big argument. Like they're stuck in this ecosystem, which I think is insidious and somewhat evil. That it is really hard to get out of there. But most of the Apple products I didn't like and I didn't use. Apple Mail, I thought was the pits. I used Gmail. I mean, hello. I didn't use Apple Calendar. I used the Google Calendar. Basically, every Apple software product on there's something better. So the conversion hasn't been that bad, but it's, I'm still coming around on it.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was what I was going to ask. I mean, as a professional photographer, I'm guessing that you weren't like just siloing your photos in Apple Photos and, you had already backed them up somewhere.
Sure, I'll take the easy, give me the auto iris. Yes, I'll just press that button and move on. That's what I do.
But did you lose anything? Was there anything lost in the switch? Just, data lost? Any horror stories?
No, there's no data lost. I'm an Adobe guy, and I have Lightroom and Photoshop, so I use those a lot. And I have 12 terabytes worth of photos. So this is an edge case, I think, but I think a lot of creative professionals have many, many terabytes of stuff they want to move over. So that's been a little bit of a challenge. You have to format drives using exFAT and move stuff around. It's not impossible, but it's possible. One thing that I am leaving behind is I co-developed 2 years ago this HDR program. I'm really into HDR photography. It's called Aurora HDR Pro with a company called MacFun. And so we were just on the phone with them today. And basically, when I announced that I'm using Aurora HDR Pro, it just pissed off 80% of my audience that uses Windows. So right now we're doubling down and we're going to make Aurora HDR for Windows, and it's in progress. So once that's done, my life will be complete. I'll be all Windows all the time.
Nice. So I just to kind of give you an idea of where I'm coming from on this question, I've been using Mac for music production probably since, I don't know, early 2000s, let's say. Before that, I was on Windows, and PCs have definitely evolved a lot over that amount of time, to say the least. But one of the reasons that I moved away from Windows and towards the Mac OS is because at least the perception was, and my experience since then has been, that I spend less time tweaking with things to get things to work and more time just actually creating. Was that a part of this? And are you worried that might actually, be the case in something like Windows 10 as you continue to try and be as productive as you're used to?
I know what you say. This is a big thing Windows users say. It's like it really lets you get under the hood and tweak stuff. Well, I'm with you, Jason. I don't like to tweak any of that stuff. Once I open it up, I feel like I'm repairing a toaster. I don't know what to put where. It's ridiculous. Yeah. So I don't like tweaking stuff, and I have found no need to do that. And I know you probably know a lot more about professional music production than I do. Two guys that are definitely Windows are Hans Zimmer and Deadmau5. Have you seen Deadmau5's new Masterclass preview?
No, I haven't.
Do you know what Masterclass? So
yeah, I know that he does a lot of that work online, and you can actually watch his production process and everything. Yeah.
And so he seems to get away with just doing default stuff without getting really under the hood to do interesting music production. Mm-hmm. So, I think I don't really know for music. I don't really know what is better. But I think that music production generally may not be as heavy lifting as photography and video production. But I might be wrong. I really don't know what I'm talking about.
So, I mean, at this point, it sounds like where we're at right now is that it's pretty early on. Are you worried that you might encounter any roadblocks at this point, or
no?
Or is it looking like
not.
smooth sailing at this point?
Yeah, it looks like smooth sailing. I have produced probably 50 to 60 photos just exclusively on the Windows machine. Nice. It's been super fast. I've got my Wacom tablet. It's very responsive. I've got some works that I'm doing for a patron. I have an art patron who's paid, lots of money, and so I've done the whole thing pretty much exclusively on the Windows machine, and the photos look beautiful. It's been fast, been a positive experience. I've had to get around a little bit. The right clicking and the touchpad is a little different, but the human mind is incredibly plastic, right? And you can adapt to new situations very, very quickly. If you remember on the Mac, at one point, reverse the scrolling. So it was one way, then the other way. You're like, I'll never get this. And then 5 days later, you're like, oh, this makes a lot of sense. So, don't underestimate the plasticity of the human brain and its ability to adapt to new styles of interacting with computers.
Absolutely. I mean, that actually ties right into Megan and I's experience very recently. I'm an Android user, longtime Android user. Megan's an iOS user, and we traded phones for a month to see what it's like on the other side. And totally to your point. At first, very foreign. It doesn't take you that long for your brain to adjust to what the new way is, though you miss things on the other side, but it's not impossible. So
yeah, that's true. I'll tell you one more reason I switched to Windows is because it's this is a VR-ready computer, and I'm getting really into virtual reality and creating 360-degree art, which just really isn't possible with the Apple system. Sure. And I am always kind of an early adopter, trying new things, always being uncomfortable. This is sort of, I think, the way of the artist or whatever. But I'm really enjoying it. It's incredibly stimulating. It keeps me uncomfortable. And I think this is a counterintuitive truth. And maybe this is more for creatives and artists than regular people. But I think like regular people, they should have the same thing. It's important to kind of keep yourself a little bit uncomfortable, right? Mm-hmm. People always want to retreat into some comfortable little pod, but that's actually not what you want to do. You need to mix things up and keep yourself guessing, keep yourself on your toes. And so making a big switch is actually an opportunity to come up with new creative ideas, to reorganize all your mess that's been accumulating over the last few years. So, there's a lot of good reasons to switch that are kind of counterintuitive.
Yeah, for sure.
So do you have a VR camera that you'd recommend to people?
Yes. Let me grab it right here. This is sliding back on camera. Ooh. This is cool. This is called a Panono, and it has 36 cameras on it, all aiming in different directions, of course. And there's a little stick, like a selfie stick you put in there, and you hold it up in the air like Gandalf, and you hit the button, and it takes one photo, and it stitches it all together inside, and then it uses the web and a server to really make things beautiful. Then you upload it right to Facebook, and it looks great. It has one other cool feature, too, where you can throw it up in the air, and then at its apex, it takes a picture of the whole environment. You got to be sure you catch the thing.
That was my question.
Yeah, but it's great. So I use this, and then I'm using a HTC Vive. I bought one for my son and I for Christmas. So we play games on it and make 3D art, and I'm doing some really cool experimental stuff. I wish I could tell you about it. It's so awesome, but I'll wait till it actually works.
Absolutely.
We'll have to have you back on to talk about it when it's live.
That's right. And I'm sure it'll go up at stuckincustoms.com, which is your site that you post a lot of this stuff to. So
that's right. That's right.
Really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to tell us all about your Switch. I know you're not alone. There are a lot of people that go back and forth, and this is just a great example of how, I don't know, people get intimidated by it, and maybe they shouldn't. Trey Ratcliff with stuckincustoms.com. Thank you so much, Trey. Really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, guys. Have a good day.
All right. You too. We'll talk to you soon.
So we got a message from John, who describes himself as a blind guy with a hearing impairment from the Philly burbs of Pennsylvania. A while back, we talked about ride hailing and accessibility, and he had this to say: my dad was really sick the other day and couldn't move to get up, so to go out to get himself soup. So I called Lyft just because I can tip the driver. It worked out great. Not only did the driver come out to get me when he saw that I had a white cane, but when I got to the store, he read all the soups to me. Since I picked up a drink for my aunt too, he showed me the different size bottles so I could make my own choice and read me what was there. I was glad to help to take care of my dad in the way that I could. Then later that night, I went out with a buddy of mine to a local bar using Uber, and my driver helped both of us inside. My friend is blind also, and his driver just left him at the outdoor table. I thought this was really fascinating because a self-driving Lyft or Uber would not do that, would not be able to do that.
You might end up actually paying extra to get, some sort of added service in that regard.
Like a person, pay extra for a person?
Pay extra for that, one of those novel inclusions, a person in the vehicle to help.
Pay extra for a person. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. But I thought that was interesting. Obviously, not all Uber drivers did it because John's friend did not have someone help him in. But yeah, it's something to think about as we move into this driverless car world.
I don't know if it's an overstatement, but I'm guessing Uber drivers and Lyft drivers and ride-hailing drivers might be more inclined to help out in those regards than, say, just your run-of-the-mill taxi cab driver, just in the sense that so much of their business is derived from direct rating from the people that actually ride in the vehicle. And so, I mean, as you see, drivers in these services get very creative with how they make sure that the customer experience is above and beyond and not just a ride. It's something a little bit more, maybe more comfortable or helpful or whatever the case may be. So
right. Well, because there's the tipping, right, too, because cab drivers always relied on tips. So there's that. But, that's, I guess, not as important as a good rating.
Right. Up next, wear your internet history on your sleeve. We'll tell you how you can do that. But first, let's take a minute to thank Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. They are the sponsor of this episode. If you're looking for a house, if you're thinking about looking for a house, I mean, part of that whole process, you got to think about how you're going to go about the mortgage. What is required in that process. It's not the easiest thing in the world. It can be a little intimidating, actually, when you go into it for the first time. So, you want to work with someone that you can trust, someone that's going to have your best interest in mind. And with Rocket Mortgage, you're going to get a transparent online process that gives you the confidence to make an informed decision, to decide that you want to pursue it. Don't waste time searching through stacks of paperwork. With Rocket Mortgage, you can securely share your financial information to get a mortgage approval in minutes. You can do it wherever you happen to be. It's super easy. You can even adjust the rate and the length of your loan in real time. So you can kind of play around with the numbers, make sure you get the right mortgage solution for you. Whether you're looking to buy a home or even refinance your existing mortgage, you can lift the burden of getting a home loan with Rocket Mortgage. So skip the bank, skip the waiting, go completely online at quickenloans.com/TNT. That's quickenloans.com/TNT. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS, consumeraccess.org, number 3030. And we thank Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans for their support. TNT's fans of the day, not one but two, Jim and Andy Sprinkle from King, North Carolina, who say they watch our show in their living room whenever they catch it, whenever they can catch it anyways, via Roku, usually on an LG Smart TV. When was this from?
This was when you went on vacation, because that blue blob I'm flashing around is your phone, I think.
You're just throwing it around? No regard for phone safety.
I know. That's what I think I was saying to Georgia. This old thing.
And then you threw it across the room?
Yes.
Dang. I should have thrown your phone at least once while I had it.
You should have.
Just as payback. Show us how you watch or listen to TNT. Just record a video or take a picture of yourself, your setup, post it on Instagram, Google+, Twitter, or Facebook, and use the hashtag HowIWatchTNT, and we'll find it.
Style experts say that if you wait long enough, everything comes back, including a T-shirt advertising a product that was never in style in the first place, as far as I'm concerned. Tech Insider spotted this little gem online. It's a T-shirt with a classic AOL logo that Urban Outfitters will sell you for $45.
Is that all? Urban Outfitters, they're so good at throwing that price up on stuff like this. It's all about retro. And they charge you like 3 times what it should cost.
What I think is you should get the T-shirt that I also put a link to from Redbubble. It's a Skynet online T-shirt with the AOL logo, and I think I have that link in there.
At the bottom of the list.
And I think do yourself a favor and get yourself that shirt if you're looking
Skynet
for it.
Online.
No.
Nope. I put the Napster in because, the problem with the Napster one is Napster's still a thing, right? But this is, Napster's still around. It's just a different type of service, right? Yeah.
Is that Friendster?
This is MySpace.
Oh, MySpace.
Urban Outfitters, it's all cool, get retro.
Yeah. MySpace, I guess, would be better than, yeah. Mm-hmm.
There you go.
That's the Skynet that
Online.
one. And that will only cost you $24.
Oh, that's like half the price.
Mm-hmm. And that woman's wearing pants.
That's true.
As opposed to the other pictures.
I mean, why show any other clothes when the T-shirt is what they're selling?
Exactly.
Seriously. All right. So are you going to buy a T-shirt?
No.
Oh.
I might buy the MySpace T-shirt. That, to me, is more stylish.
Okay.
I never had a MySpace.
You never did?
Mm-mm.
You never had blink tags all over the place?
I've seen MySpace, but I never had one.
The bummer about MySpace, because I had one, I definitely had one, is that I would love to go back and see it. And I still have an account with MySpace. Everyone that had an account still has an account. It's just MySpace has changed. They did an about face and changed everything from the ground up. So you can't see your old wall. So if you wanted to see your social media life before you curated it to the point that it is now 10 years later, you can't see the history of it. It's really kind of a bummer.
Did you have a live journal?
I never had live journal, no.
I had a live journal.
And what was so awesome about live journal?
It was one of the first blogs.
Oh, okay.
It was the first blog that I used. Burke has something.
Burkham. AOL Lessons Skynet, which is bad.
AOL Skynet, which is bad lessons. AOL Lessons. Lessons.
Burke Chat wins again.
Okay, got it.
Burke he just doesn't understand why sometimes we don't understand. TNT records live every Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, midnight UTC at twit.tv/live. You can be part of the show by emailing us at tnt@twit.tv. Leave us a short voicemail, 260-TNT-SHOW, and find us on Twitter at TechNewsTodayTV.
Time is running out. The yearly Twit survey ends February 28th. We want to hear from you. Head over to twit.tv/survey now. It only takes a couple of minutes, and we want to serve you better. And if you want to tweet at me after you fill out the survey to let me know that you filled out the survey, or for any other reason, I'm at Megan Maroney.
And I'm at Jason Howell. Thanks to our technical director, Brian Burnett. Thanks to Burke for everything that you do, Burke. I love it. Thanks to Kevin for editing the show. And thanks to you for talking tech with us today. We'll see you all tomorrow. Bye, everybody.